So I'm always being asked to cut down beer barrels for people, so I just thought I'd make a jig to make things a little bit easier for myself. So here you can see me using my centre finder. You need to find the centre of the top of the barrel so you can centralise the jig. So this is the main part of the jig, and this part spins, which you'll see in a second. So what I'm doing now, I'm just trying to line my jig up with the lines I drew on the top of the barrel. You don't have to go too crazy with lining everything up. The part of the barrel which you're gonna cut is probably not a perfect circle anyway. Now this is the part of the jig that holds the saw, and don't know if it's obvious yet, but it can slide left and right to suit different size barrels. So now I just need to find the midpoint of the barrel, the part which I intend to cut. It doesn't show up too well on camera, but on this part of the jig that I'm lowering now, there's a kerf cut that the saw has left, and you can use that to very precisely line up the jig. So in a second you'll be able to see me lining up the kerf cut with my pencil line. There it is. I'm just making sure all the bolts are tight, and I'll give it a quick spin round to make sure it doesn't hit anything. So the part that holds the saw is just a really tight fit. I mean, you're holding the saw anyway, so it doesn't need to be anything better than what I've done here. So I'm just about to start cutting and plunge the saw in. As you can see, it's really important to use wedges as you go. It just makes it a lot safer. If the weight of that barrel crushes your saw blade, there's a potential accident there. So if you've only got the odd one or two of these barrels to cut down, then it's probably not worth you taking the time to make a jig like this. It probably took me about 3 or 4 hours to make. It's just all made out of MDF, a bit of glue and a few pins. So the jig is all built out of MDF, probably used about half a sheet. And the only reason I've painted it is because of YouTube. Needed to look half decent. You could obviously adapt this jig however you like for what tools that would work best for you. For example, a jigsaw. So as you can probably hear, the saw is slightly struggling now, so that's a sign just to go along and tap the wedges in. course, the best part to cutting down barrels for people is you get to drink what's ever left in them. So now I'm removing the jig and I'm going to separate the two pieces. If you happen to come across a barrel that is too thick for your saw to cut, this jig still works quite well for that. You just run around with your circular saw and it puts a nice score cut in there, and then you follow up with your jigsaw. So this barrel is the most common size I cut in half, and the two I've got, they were actually a friend of mine. They'd been in his pub for probably a year and a half, and they were a lot drier, a lot easier to cut, as you can see. So that's about it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video and someone got some value out of it. I'll see you on the next one.